Hello, sophomores. Long time since we've seen each other, huh? I miss you guys, and I hope that you are all doing well and staying safe and healthy. And I want to just say that I really appreciate the hard work that you've been doing last week. You've been keeping up, you've been giving me really good feedback about how much work we're doing and how much you like and dislike the various platforms that we've used. So I just wanted you to know I'm using that feedback, and I am going to try to only post assignments once a day so that everything's in one place. And I'm also going to try to give you more of a schedule or calendar. The only exception is going to be ed puzzles. For some reason, it doesn't let me just embed that in other posts on Classroom. But I will definitely be trying to make the communication more streamlined for you guys. I can imagine how frustrating it's getting with all of your classes. So I wanted to introduce our project for this week with our dystopian novels in a way that would hopefully make it as easy to understand as humanly possible. And I'm just going to ask you guys to be a little patient. This is my first outing with Screencastify. It's going horribly. This is probably my 80th attempt at getting this recorded. So let's all hope for the best and let's plow through this. All right, so you are going to be working with a partner who's reading a different book than you. And what we're going to try to do this week is to replicate as much as we can having person-to-person discussions like we would have in class. So there are multiple options that are available to us. Our first option is we can use Google Meet, and that way you and your partner could set up a live meeting and talk face-to-face. We could also just use Google Docs. You could open a document and then talk back and forth to each other like you were messaging. Flipgrid would allow for some video responses if we want to try that, although a lot of you said you don't really care for it. And again, the number of times I've tried to do this video, I get you. And then another idea is to just post questions about our book on Google Classroom. And that seemed to work really well for Harrison Bergeron. So we'll probably be doing some of that too. All right, so just a couple of things. First of all, notice that I'm not necessarily going to be assigning page numbers or chapters for you to read every night. Instead, we're going to go with our district's recommendation that you read for about half an hour a day. So let's say you start on Monday, which is the plan. You read for half an hour, then you read for another half an hour on Tuesday, and that means on Wednesday you'll spend about 15 minutes with your partner journaling, and then add another half an hour to your reading. All right, so what are these journals? These are something that we call dialogue journals. It's literally like being pen pals with your partner, or being a book club with your partner and recording your conversation. We have two options for how we would do this. The first option is synchronous, which means you and your partner would be either doing a Google Meet and recording it, or you would open a Google Doc and you would both be going back and forth on it at the same time, almost like you were messaging. Asynchronous means you don't have to work on it at the same time. You can work on it separately. So in this case, you would use Flipgrid if you wanted to videotape it. And one partner would make a video, the other partner would come over and respond to the video. The other way to do that is with a Google Doc. One partner just leaves a comment, and then the other partner comes in and responds, and so on. Because this is kind of new to all of us, though, we're going to use a Google Doc the first time. So you're going to find a link, and it's going to take you to a journal assignment. So this is your first one. It's going to give you all the directions just in case you need to review. But when you get down here, you're going to see prompt 1. It says, describe the book you're reading to your partner. How is it dystopian? What kind of world is the writer setting up? What's life like for the characters? What's the book making you think about? That's just to get you guys started. So the first partner who comes in, take any part of this question and just use it to start your conversation. If you're doing it live, it will look a little bit differently than if you're doing it asynchronously or at different times. So let's talk about how these different structures will work. Let's say that you and your partner decide that you want to work at the same time or synchronously. The first thing you're going to have to do is make sure that you know how to contact each other, and you're going to set up a meeting time. You are going to copy the Google Doc and make sure that you can both share it. And then you go on and you put your names on it. The person who is reading Fahrenheit is always going to write in red, and the person who's reading 1984 is always going to write in blue. Okay? So, like I said, just pretend you're messaging with each other on the document. One partner write a short answer, and then the next partner come in and respond to it and go back and forth multiple times. With live conferencing, I'm going to ask you to just keep it to 15 minutes. Again, use your assigned color so I can follow who is talking about what. When you finish the 15-minute conversation or when it reaches about 2 pages, just go ahead and stop, and you'll find an assignment link on your Google Classroom. Just submit your document there. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to respond to your document. So what I might do is give you hints about other things to look at while you're reading, or I might jump in and answer questions that you put on your document. Anything to keep your conversation going and help you to understand the books better. So here's kind of a sample. If you decide to do a live conversation, you'll notice our 2 sample students, Sherdlu and Obadiah. Sherdlu's reading 1984 because he's blue. Obadiah is reading Fahrenheit 451 in red. This time, it doesn't matter who starts. Sherdlu started the conversation and just made a comment about the book. Notice that the responses are pretty informal, okay? You're not trying to impress each other, just talk, okay? And you'll notice when you're doing synchronous responses, they're going to be relatively short. Each person just writes a sentence, maybe 2, and then the other one responds back and forth. But what if that doesn't work out for you? What if you want to do this asynchronously or at different times? Well, actually, a lot is going to look exactly the same. Okay. Again, you'll have to talk to your partner and decide, do we want to do our responses on a Google Doc or a Flipgrid? Very easy for the first response because we're all going to do the doc. But after that, you'll have more choice. So, what you want to do is read for an hour. Whoever reaches an hour first, just go open the document, make a copy of it for your partner, make sure that they can access it, and choose the color for the book that you're reading. All right. Then just go in and start responding to the prompt. Since you're only going to go back and forth twice this time, you're going to have 2 longer responses. So the first prompt response should be about a quarter to a half of a page. And when you finish that one, just let your partner know that you left a response there and it's ready for them to go. All right, then the second person can go in, they'll read the prompt, they'll read their partner's response, and then they'll add in. You're going to like each other a lot better if you embed some questions or if you embed some concerns that you have into your responses. It'll help your partner know what to talk about when they start responding. Okay, so your requirements here, you're going to have 2 dialogues per journal. Each is going to be a quarter to half page each. So your journals will be about 2 pages when you're done. Again, you're going to make sure you're writing in your assigned color. And this time, when each partner has had an opportunity to respond twice, then again, you just submit the Google Doc to the link on the Google Classroom. And again, I'm going to respond. I'm going to either give you a prompt for next time, I'm going to help you out with your questions, or I'm going to give you some hints about things that you might be overlooking and should look into more deeply. Okay, so again, same exact concept, but this time when you submit it, you're going to have fewer entries and each entry will be a little bit longer than if you had done it live. All right, so I know that this is the first time I've ever tried to do this electronically, and it may be the first time you guys have ever even tried to dialogue journal in any way. So communication here is key. If something's not working for you and your partner, there are multiple ways to get in touch with me. Just shoot me a quick email. That's probably the fastest. Or you can leave a comment on the assignment on our Google Classroom, and I will make sure that I get back to you as soon as possible. Okay? Every once in a while, I am going to call meetings or discussions of all the people reading 1984 or all the people reading Fahrenheit 451. Um, a lot of that I think I'm going to put on Google Classroom just so that you guys can interact with each other in your own time. But I think it would also be nice to see each other's faces. So let's expect at least one or two actual Google Meetup meetings scheduled for next week. And I will make sure that you guys get emailed and you know exactly what time and when and what we'll be talking about. All right, so one last thing. Both of these novels are relatively difficult. I would say that 1984 is definitely going to be the more difficult reading. His vocabulary is very elevated. His sentences are British, so there's a little bit of a different sentence arrangement sometimes than we're used to. And in 1984, everything in that book winds up being important and symbolic. Fahrenheit 451 is very well constructed, beautifully written. Ray Bradbury is an amazing author. Um, and there's still a lot of symbolism that you're going to look at, but I don't think it's going to be quite as heavy as 1984. So, 1984 people, you may find yourself needing additional support. So, what I wanted to say here is you guys have been cheated out of so much already this year. And I just do not want to see you cheat yourself out of one more opportunity to do some critical thinking. Like I always say, it's not going to be important to me that you get every answer right or that you understand everything as you go. But what I want you doing is practicing your critical thinking skills of inference, of making connections, of analysis, and understanding like what kind of motifs we should follow, what kind of archetypes an author is using to create symbols. You might even want to think about what characters' names represent. Okay. Everything in these books counts. So I really want you to like take the Scouts Pledge of Honor, that you won't shortchange yourself, that you are going to give it a shot, read the books, dialogue with your partner, reach out and talk to the people who are reading the same books. And if those things don't help you, then you know what? Spark Notes is a good source. But again, just read the summary for the chapters that you have already read. Um, or if you're really lost, go back and just check it for understanding to make sure you're on the right track. All right, I trust you guys. I know that you know how important it is, especially right now, to give your learning your all because we've lost a lot of opportunity. All right, so the final thing, again, if you have questions about this particular project before we get started, just drop them into the comment space below this post, and I will answer those as soon as I can. All right, guys, I miss you. I'm looking forward to our good things. All right, take care.